Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Chinese dams expected to be discussed during India visit of US National Security Advisor as India raises concerns over a hydropower project in Tibet autonomous region. Days before inauguration, Donald Trump's hush money case sentencing set for January 10. Judge says must be sentenced but signals no jail. President Biden blocks takeover of US steel by Japan's Nippon Steel, cites national security as reason. Companies call decision a violation of due process. India's weather department issues red alert for heavy snowfall in higher reaches of Kashmir. Severe cold wave grips Delhi-NCR as people wake up to dense fog, trains run late, flights face delays. And in Sydney, Test Bumrah-less India dominate Australia to take 4-run lead. Rohit Sharma clears air on his future in Test, says not retiring. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan's visit to New Delhi from Sunday is expected to include discussions with Indian counterparts about the impact of Chinese dams. US has seen in many places in the Indo-Pacific that upstream dams that the Chinese have created, including in the Mekong region, can have really potentially damaging environmental but also climate impacts on downstream countries. The Indian government too has conveyed its concerns to Beijing about China's plan to build a hydropower dam in Tibet on the Yarlung Tsangpo River, which flows into India.
We have seen the information released by Xinhua on 25th December 2024 regarding a hydropower project on the Yarlung Tsangpo River in the Tibet Autonomous Region of China. As a lower riparian state with established user rights to the waters of the river, we have consistently expressed through expert level as well as diplomatic channels our views and concerns to the Chinese side over mega projects on rivers in their territory. These have been reiterated along with the need for transparency and consultation with downstream countries following the latest report. The Chinese side has been urged to ensure that the interests of downstream states of the Brahmaputra are not harmed by activities in upstream areas. We will continue to monitor and take necessary measures to protect our interests.
Chinese officials say that hydropower projects in Tibet will not have a major impact on the environment or on downstream water supplies. The construction of the dam, which will be the largest of its kind in the world with an estimated capacity of 300 billion kilowatt hours of electricity annually, was approved last month. And India has also lodged a solemn protest with China over its announcement of 2 new counties in Hotan Prefecture which fall within India's union territory of Ladakh. In a media briefing on Friday, India's Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randeep Jaiswal said India has never accepted the illegal Chinese occupation of Indian territory in this area.
We have seen the announcement pertaining to the establishment of 2 new counties in Hotan Prefecture of China. Parts of jurisdiction of these so-called counties fall in India's union territory of Ladakh. We have never accepted the illegal Chinese occupation of Indian territory in this area. Creation of new counties will neither have a bearing on India's long-standing and consistent position regarding our sovereignty over the area, nor lend legitimacy to China's illegal and forcible occupation of the same. We have lodged a solemn protest with the Chinese side through diplomatic channels on this matter.
And my colleague Jessica Taneja has more information on this. She's joining us live from Delhi. Good morning, Jessica. The last high-profile trip to India by the Biden administration Tell us the significance of Jake Sullivan's visit and what all is likely to be discussed.
Well, the outgoing National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, will be here in India. Yeah. The last visit, perhaps you can expect from a high-profile event from the Biden administration, the outgoing Biden administration. And Jake Sullivan will soon be replaced by Mike Waltz, picked by the current President Donald Trump. So, of course, the visit is significant, you'd recall. He also met with the External Affairs Minister just last month when he was in the United States. So perhaps this visit is also a signal and perhaps in a sense that the outgoing administration of the United States does see India and will continue to see it as a crucial partner in many spheres, and the relationship that has built up not only based on technology but also on aiding India on many fronts, as was its requirement and mutually beneficial relationship that has thrived over the years. But his visit is also coming at a time, if not related, where India has lodged solemn protest over Chinese activities, in the region, which of course threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. So perhaps this visit would see a wide-ranging discussion, not certain whether the discussion on this would come up, as we haven't seen anything from the Ministry of External Affairs to that extent. You heard the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, Randeep Jaiswal, and also the spokesperson of the MA. He did clarify on reports from the Xinhua agency, the news agency of China, which had on 27 December put out reports about building of these dams, and also in another significant event, building the two counties in the Khotan province, which also in India is the Khotan province and falls in the Union territory of Ladakh. So certainly a moment where India-China have spoken through diplomatic channels again on issues of territorial disputes, particularly when these developments seem very significant, as the special representative talks just ended last month. And perhaps a movement towards normalization of the ties with China is on the way. So at this point, with Jake Sullivan's visit, apart from mentioning the reasons, as I did for being present in New Delhi, one will wait and see as to what the outcome of that visit is, Abhishek.
Right, Jessica, also, in fact, the Indian government has conveyed its concerns to Beijing about China's plan to build a hydropower dam in Tibet. Tell us, why is China's construction of a new dam a concern for India? How will that dam impact India?
Then on the upstreams, Abhishek, on the Brahmaputra River, and the downstream, countries, of course, are India and Bangladesh. And even though this dam, after much assurances from the Chinese, have said that there will be no ecological damage or the water flows to the downstream states will not be affected. But there are more concerns than just that as well. There are security concerns, and also controlling the flow of the water in critical moments can raise some security concerns for the regions. And in India, including Bangladesh, have shown hesitancy in the kind of plans and assurances that the Chinese side had given in terms of building this hydropower project on the Yarlung-Tsangpo River. So there are concerns and implications much beyond just the ecological damage. So, of course, once this dam is complete, it's costing around $137 billion, the world's largest dam. It even dwarfs the Three Gorges Dam that Chinese had built. So this is, of course, a huge project. And, of course, there are issues about consultations of states downstream that could be affected. And it does sort of raise implications much, much beyond environmental damages.
All right, Jessica, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Amid rising concerns over an outbreak of human metapneumovirus or HMPV in China, India is monitoring the situation and is also in touch with international agencies. National Center for Disease Control is closely monitoring respiratory infections, seasonal influenza cases and other viral infections. No case of this virus has been yet reported in India. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Gramin Bharat Mahotsav 2025 today at Bharat Mandapam in the national capital. He will also address the gathering on the occasion, celebrating rural India's entrepreneurial spirit and cultural heritage. The six-day festival is based on the theme Building a Resilient Rural India for a Viksit Bharat 2047. The festival, through various discussions, workshops and masterclasses, aims to enhance rural infrastructure, create self-reliant economies and foster innovation within rural communities. Its objectives include promoting economic stability and financial security among rural populations, with a special focus on Northeast India by addressing financial inclusion and supporting sustainable agricultural practices. And India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has drafted the Digital Personal Data Protection Rules 2025 to facilitate the implementation of Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 or the DPDP Act. It aims to strengthen the legal framework for the protection of digital personal data by providing necessary details and an actionable framework. Stakeholders are invited to share feedback on the draft rules. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Moldova breakaway region of Transnistria faces an energy security crisis after being cut off from Russian gas supply. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken takes up high-stakes visit to South Korea to address regional security efforts, to also visit Japan and France. And we tell you about new details which have emerged about the Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
The delicate balance between human and animal coexistence has become a growing problem. Finding sustainable ways to coexisting together and thriving in a rapidly changing environment.
Tell them not to panic. Instead, they should just stand completely still and let the lions walk past peacefully. This is how we show respect to the animal and in turn gain its trust.
After the plantation of lemon trees, the elephants stopped entering the fields. They pass by the field boundaries without entering.
Poaching gangs and trafficking gangs that go after these elephants and capture them, things like that. And that's something that we are all up against.
We should try to modify the human behavior through education and awareness.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. US President-elect Donald Trump's legal challenges continue as a judge ruled on his sentencing in the hush money case. This decision adds another chapter to the ongoing legal battles before he assumes office. Diptanshu Kashyap gets us these details.
A U.S. judge has ruled that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will be sentenced on January 10th in the criminal case involving hush money paid to adult actress Stormy Daniels. Acting Justice Juan Merchan of the New York State Supreme Court noted that he is not inclined to impose a jail sentence, instead suggesting unconditional discharge, meaning no custody, monetary fine, or probation as the most viable solution. The ruling means Trump will be required to appear at a court hearing just 10 days before his January 20th inauguration, an unprecedented scenario in US history. Before Trump, no US president, former or sitting, had been charged with or convicted of a crime. Trump may appear at his sentencing either in person or virtually. In a statement, Trump spokesperson Stephen Cheong said there should be no sentencing in the case. Justice Merchan denied Trump's motion to dismiss the case, stating that the charges of falsifying business records do not threaten presidential authority. Prosecutors suggested alternatives such as delaying the sentencing until after Trump's presidency or ensuring a non-custodial sentence. The charges stem from a $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels, allegedly to silence her before the 2016 election. Trump has pleaded not guilty, calling the case a political attack. Meanwhile, his other legal battles, including a Georgia election case, remain ongoing. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
US Steel and Nippon Steel have threatened legal action after President Joe Biden blocked a controversial $14.9 billion deal for the Japanese company to buy its American rival. Biden cited a strategic need to protect domestic industry, but the move withdrew sharp criticism from both the companies.
US President Joe Biden blocked Nippon Steel's proposed $14.9 billion purchase of US Steel on Friday, citing national security concerns, dealing a potentially fatal blow to the contentious plan after a year of review. Nippon paid a hefty premium to clinch the deal and made several concessions, but to no avail. Biden's decision, less than 3 weeks before he leaves office, followed extended wrangling over competing domestic political, economic, and trade demands.
The president took action to block the deal to U.S. Steel U.S. Steel remains a proud American company, American-owned, American-operated by American union steelworkers, and the best in the world. CFIUS evaluation determined this acquisition would place one of America's largest steel producers under foreign control and create a risk for our national security and our critical supply chains.
Nippon and US Steel blasted Biden's decision, calling it a clear violation of due process and a political move, and saying they would take all appropriate actions to protect their legal rights. The United Steelworkers Union, which opposed the merger from the outset, praised Biden's decision, calling it a right move for workers and national security. Nippon Steel faces a $565 million penalty payment to US Steel following the deal's collapse. Japanese Industry and Trade Minister Yoshimoto expressed disappointment over Biden's decision, saying it was both difficult to understand and regrettable. Bureau Report, DD India.
And staying with the updates from the US, Republican Mike Johnson was returned as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, marking the start of complete Republican control in Washington. President-elect Donald Trump previously endorsed Johnson for the role of House Speaker, saying a win for Mike today will be a big win for the Republican Party. The Speaker wields key influence in Washington by presiding over House business and is second in line to the presidency after the Vice President. Voting in a new Speaker is the first requirement of the new session of Congress, and without that leader in place, the chamber cannot move on to any other function. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will begin his visit to South Korea, Japan and France from today amid a political crisis in Seoul, where Secretary Blinken will meet with senior government officials to reaffirm the ironclad US-South Korea alliance and discuss ways the two nations can build on critical cooperation on challenges around the world based on their shared values. The Secretary will also discuss how the both sides can strengthen key efforts to promote a free, open and prosperous Indo-Pacific, as well as trilateral efforts with Japan. South Korea's presidential guards and military troops on Friday prevented authorities from arresting impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol under criminal investigation for insurrection over his December martial law bid. It was the first attempt by authorities to arrest him, during which they faced a 6-hour standoff with the presidential guards. Yoon supporters who gathered near the residence vowed to block any attempt to arrest him. In Japan, Secretary Blinken will meet with senior Japanese government officials to review the tremendous progress the US-Japan alliance has made over the past few years. Secretary Blinken will reaffirm the importance of the alliance in addressing a range of bilateral, regional and global issues and continue to build on the momentum of US-Japan-South Korea trilateral cooperation. In France, Secretary Blinken will meet with senior French officials as part of a vital partnership to address challenges in Europe, the Middle East and beyond. Moldova faces energy security crisis. Prime Minister Narendra said on Friday after its separatist Transnistria region cut off from Russian gas descends into factory closures, restricted heating and rolling blackouts. The crisis peaked after Russian gas flows via Ukraine were halted on New Year's Day following Kiev's refusal to extend a transit deal with Moscow amid the ongoing conflict. Russia blames Kiev for refusing to renew the gas transit deal. Prime Minister Narendra assured Moldova's energy security with imports from Romania, but lamented the enclave's refusal of aid, including generators and biomass systems. He said the Moldovan government remained committed to helping the enclave. Transnistrian leaders, hopeful for Russian gas, declined offers to buy from Europe, citing higher cost. Now, Israel has defended its raid on Kamal Adwan Hospital in North Gaza, claiming it had irrefutable evidence that Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad militants were using the hospital. However, the UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk disputed this justification, stating that Israel's claims were unsubstantiated and often vague and broad. The World Health Organization has also urged Israel to release the hospital's director, Hussam Abu Safia, who was detained during the raid. Israel's Deputy UN Ambassador Jonathan Miller claimed that over 240 terrorists were apprehended during the raid, including 15 who participated in the October 7 massacre in southern Israel. The Kamal Adwan Hospital has been at the center of controversy, with Israel accusing Hamas of using the hospital for military purposes. However, hospital staff and the WHO have denied this, stating that the hospital was providing critical medical care to the civilians. Now, Syria's new Foreign Minister Saad al-Shaibani announced official visits to Qatar, the United Arab Emirates and Jordan this week, following his first trip to Saudi Arabia. The government, eager to attract Gulf investments to rebuild the war-torn economy, hopes these visits will foster economic recovery and strengthen regional partnerships. Earlier, a high-ranking Syrian delegation, including defense and intelligence officials, traveled to Riyadh for talks. Saudi Arabia had previously engaged with Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Shara, who emphasized the potential for significant investment in Syria's future. Now, Germany has called for an inclusive transition in Syria, urging Damascus to involve all groups, including women and Kurds, if it hopes to secure European support. Following a landmark meeting with Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Shara, on Friday, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock emphasized the importance of democratic reforms and ethnic inclusion. Joined by her French counterpart, Jean-Noël Barrot, Baerbock stressed that European funds must not bolster new Islamist structures. When asked about lifting EU sanctions, she said progress depended on political reforms, noting some positive signs but cautioning it was too soon to act. Baerbock urged Syria to focus on peaceful power transfer, reconciliation and reconstruction as key steps towards rebuilding trust and securing international aid.
Better future for Syria means an inclusive, peaceful transfer of power, reconciliation and reconstruction. This requires a political dialogue involving all ethnic and religious groups, involving men and equally women, They all must be involved in the constitutional process and in a future Syrian government.
And the US Biden administration has notified Congress of a proposed $8 billion arms deal with Israel. The package includes ammunition for fighter jets and attack helicopters, significantly enhancing Israel's military capabilities. The deal would need approval from House and Senate committees and includes artillery shells and air-to-air missiles for fighter jets to defend against threats such as drones. The package also includes small diameter bombs and warheads, according to Ashes. Diplomatic efforts have so far failed to end the 15-month-old Israeli conflict in Gaza. US President Joe Biden is due to leave office on January 20th, when Donald Trump will succeed him. Now, Poland has taken over the presidency of the Council of the European Union, marking the beginning of his 6-month term. This development comes at a challenging time for the EU, which is facing a multitude of global crises, including a sluggish economy, rising tensions with the US, China and Russia, and internal political disunity. The Polish presidency has outlined its priorities, including strengthening the EU's security and defense capabilities, promoting economic growth and competitiveness, and enhancing the EU's role in global affairs. Poland's leadership will be crucial in addressing the EU's pressing challenges and promoting unity among member states. In a show of support, the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, joined Poland's leadership to stress the importance of continued support for Ukraine, which is grappling with conflict.
The motto of the Polish presidency is Security Europe. Our union was born as a project of peace after World War II, and we need to strengthen once again our security to ensure peace in Europe. Therefore, Ukraine must remain our top priority. This year, we must continue to stand with Ukraine as much as necessary for as long as it takes to win a comprehensive, just and lasting peace.
And in the days since a US Army veteran drove a truck into dozens of New Year's Day revelers, normalcy has begun to return to New Orleans. US President Joe Biden also plans to visit on Monday to meet with officials and victims' families. Next month, the city will host the National Football League's Super Bowl. President of the New Orleans Tourism Board, Walter Legger, said that locals across the town are excited for the Super Bowl as city returns to normalcy.
You know, I think asserting their defiance and saying that nothing is going to disrupt this special place, nothing's going to prevent us from gathering in a unique and remarkable way in a unique and remarkable city.
And new details have emerged about the Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. Authorities have ruled out any animosity towards President-elect Donald Trump and revealed insights into the suspect's mental state. Yash Chaturvedi brings us the latest updates.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation confirmed that Matthew Livelsberger, the 37-year-old suspect behind the New Year's Day Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas, likely suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder.
He does offer additional information that is varying on the spectrum in terms of political grievances, issues about the conflicts elsewhere, not here, domestic issues, societal issues, a variety of other things, including personal challenges as well.
The FBI also said that the suspect had no animosity towards President-elect Donald Trump.
We have interviewed family members, friends, the subject's associates, and military members that he served with around the globe. Through these interviews, we've found that the subject held no animosity towards the president-elect.
The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department shared findings from Livelsberger's Notes app, where he documented his activities leading up to the incident. A highly decorated army soldier, Matthew Livelsberger, has left many letter notes saying it was a stunt to serve as a wake-up call for the country's ills. He also wrote that he needed to cleanse his mind of the lives lost of the people he knew and the burden of the lives he took.
But we're able to take this phone and be able to extract the data using a variety of different tools. And in that, we've identified a variety of information, but one thing in particular is there was an application in there that the suspect used to take notes. In that application, one of the notes is titled Surveillance Log by the Suspect. It appears to be more of a journal of activity. It dates for about 10 days leading up to the incident, from December 21st to December 31st of this past year.
Authorities also emphasized that the Cybertruck explosion appeared unrelated to the deadly truck attack in New Orleans. FBI officials reiterated there was no definitive link between the two events. Investigators are continuing to piece together the timeline and motive behind the Cybertruck explosion, as questions remain about Levelsberger's mental health and state of mind. Bureau Report, DD India.
Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Up next, we'll get you live updates on cold wave prevailing in Kashmir Valley. INB Minister inaugurates FM transmitter at Akashvani, Kokrajhar. An International World Braille Day today will get you the significance of this day.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. The Kashmir Valley is presently in the grip of its 40-day-long period of acute cold called Chilai Kalan. Kashmir is reeling under intense cold wave conditions with night temperatures continuously going to sub-zero levels. The Met Department has predicted a spell of snowfall from today afternoon. India's Met Department officials said that a moderate to strong western disturbance is expected to impact J&K starting Saturday, bringing light to moderate snowfall across most areas. Given these projections, a yellow alert has been issued over the region that day to urge people to be updated about the inclement weather. For the higher reaches of Kashmir, a red alert has been issued as heavy to very heavy snowfall is expected over most places of higher reaches from Saturday evening to January 6. And the impact of intense cold wave in the Kashmir Valley can be seen all over North India as cold wave conditions continue. A thick blanket of fog enveloped India's national capital Delhi on Saturday, reducing visibility and affecting traffic. The city woke up to a chilly morning with a dense fog cover. The visibility was recorded zero in several parts of North India, including Delhi's Hindon and Palam airports. As Delhi suffered a dip in its air quality on Friday, the Commission for Air Quality Management implemented Stage 3 of the Graded Response Action Plan, or GRAP, across the National Capital Region. As per the latest update by the India Met Department released Friday night, dense fog and cold day conditions are likely to prevail over parts of northwest and central India during the next 2 days and improve thereafter.
The cold wave conditions have gripped the northern part of India, throwing normal life out of gear. This is the national capital of India, New Delhi. If you can see behind me, this part of India is covered under a thick blanket of fog, reducing visibility to almost zero. The zero visibility has caused delays in flight operations as well as train operations in northern part of India. Since last evening, the fog conditions prevailing over this part of India has also thrown out normal life out of gear. And the people in the morning hours, if you can see, are rushing to their workplace, vehicles crawling due to poor visibility conditions in the northern part of India. The IMD says that such conditions in the morning and in the evening hours in this part, which is the northern India, could prevail over the next couple of days. This is Dibyendu Mondal reporting from New Delhi with camera person Lalit for DD India.
This was the latest weather update of National Capital Delhi, but we'll go across to Srinagar, where DD India Shabir Dar is joining us live. Shabir, winter's chill intensifies as cold wave warnings sound across North India, and the Kashmir Valley is presently in the grip of its 40-day-long period of acute cold. What is the latest? You can tell us what is the forecast, and the temperature is likely to drop further?
Yeah, the temperatures are continuously dropping further, and we are witnessing sub-zero temperatures during night. And the Met Department is predicting that from this afternoon, moderate to heavy western disturbance will impact Jammu and Kashmir region, and which will bring moderate to heavy snowfall in parts of Jammu and Kashmir. In Kashmir Plains, it is expected that moderate snowfall will be there, but in higher reaches, more heavy snowfall is expected from in coming 2 days. That has been from this afternoon till 6th of January. So the Met Department has issued yellow warning, orange, alert for the plains, which necessitates people to be alert and informed about the weather pattern. And in higher areas, in higher reaches like the Sinthan Top, these Mughal Road, and all the upper reaches, including tourist spots like Gulmarg and Pahalgam, where heavy to moderate to heavy snowfall is expected, authorities have issued red warnings. So people are being asked to follow the advisories, and transporters and travelers are particularly directed to follow the traffic police and traffic department's advisories so that no untoward incident happens. And the authorities too have, put in place the contingency measures. All the snow cutting machines have been deployed at the very important roads and highways to ensure that, the traffic can be, roads can be cleared and traffic is moved when it snows heavily. Similarly, the municipality authorities and public works department has been asked to, keep ready the equipments and machinery so that roads can be cleared, and waterlogging, if it ever happens, it is cleared. Similarly, the power department has been asked to keep its plans ready so that if there are outages owing to the snowfall, that can be the electricity can be restored at the earliest. Similarly, hospitals, the plans of have been kept in place so that generators and heating, backup heating arrangements are in place to ensure that hospitals remain operational in case of the heavy snowfall in coming 2 days.
All right, so you're saying red alert has been issued for higher reaches and yellow alert for the plains. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Srinagar. Let's now take a look at other stories making news. A significant milestone in strengthening communication and cultural integration was achieved as 10 kilowatt FM transmitter at Akashvani Kokrajhar was virtually inaugurated from Guwahati on Friday. The ceremony was graced by a presence of Assam Governor Lakshman Prasad Acharya, India's Minister of Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav, and Chief Minister of Assam Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma. The National Investigation Agency charge-sheeted another accused in a 2020 narco-terrorism case relating to the seizure of 17 kilograms of heroin along with cash in Jammu and Kashmir. The NIA filed the charge sheet before the agency's special court in Jammu. The Border Security Force intercepted and recovered a quadcopter drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district. According to the BSF, the recovery was made during a search operation launched after detecting drone movement near the border fence. And in November 2018, the General Assembly decided to proclaim 4th January as World Braille Day, recognizing that the full realization of human rights and fundamental freedom relies on an inclusive written promotion.
World Braille Day, observed on January 4th, commemorates the birth anniversary of Louis Braille, the visionary who developed a tactile script that revolutionized communication for blind and partially sighted individuals. World Braille Day, celebrated since 2019, is observed to raise awareness of the importance of Braille as a means of communication in the full realization of the human rights for blind and partially sighted people. This day also highlights the significance of Braille in empowering visually impaired individuals to access education, information and opportunities, fostering their full participation in society.
बचपन से ही जब मैंने स्कूलिंग मेरी स्टार्ट हुई तभी से ही मैंने ब्रेल से ही पढ़ाई की है। मैं बाय बर्थ ब्लाइंड हूँ। कॉलेज टाइम में तो मैंने बहुत टाइम 2 साल तक तो मैंने बिल्कुल ब्रेल से ही नोट्स वगैरह भी बनाए।
Government of India has undertaken a comprehensive array of initiatives to empower visually impaired individuals, emphasizing their rights, education, employment and overall well-being. The National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Visual Impairment is working in the field of visual disability for the education, training, rehabilitation and empowerment of persons with visual impairment since 1943. The Model School for the Visually Handicapped is imparting education to children with visual impairment from the Balvatika to senior secondary level, representing a broad spectrum of society. National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Visual Impairment has put in place an impressive infrastructure for printing Braille textbooks and magazines. With the combined efforts of various Braille presses, the Braille literature is being published in 14 languages. These initiatives reflect that India is making strides towards ensuring that visually impaired individuals can live with dignity, independence and equality. World Braille Day is a reminder of the collective responsibility to create an inclusive society where visually impaired individuals can thrive. Bureau Report, DD India.
Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. America's top doctor has called for risk warnings on alcoholic beverages. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka to take on Mira Andreeva in Brisbane International semi-finals on Saturday. And Colombia unveils Christ monument created with 3D print.
The delicate balance between human and animal coexistence has become a growing problem. Finding sustainable ways to coexisting together and thriving in a rapidly changing environment.
Tell them not to panic. Instead, they should just stand completely still and let the lions walk past peacefully. This is how we show respect to the animal and in turn gain its trust.
After the plantation of lemon trees, the elephants stopped entering the fields. They passed by the field boundaries without entering.
Poaching gangs and trafficking gangs that go after these elephants and capture them, things like that. And that's something that we are all up against.
We should try to modify the human behavior through education and awareness.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Time now for some health-related updates. America's top doctor has called for risk warnings on alcoholic beverages similar to the labels on cigarettes, following new research that links the drinks to 7 types of cancer. To see the light of day, it would require an act of Congress to change the existing warning labels, which have not been updated since 1988. Details in our next report.
By the US Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, alcoholic drinks should carry a label warning consumers about their cancer risks. noting that alcohol consumption increases the risk of developing breast, colon, liver, and other cancers. Vivek Murthy also called for the guidelines on alcohol consumption limits to be reassessed so that people can weigh the cancer risk when deciding whether or how much to drink. Cancer epidemiologists have welcomed the advisory.
We have control over our choice to drink alcohol or not. And that if someone wants to have a little bit of alcohol because it's just part of their lifestyle, then they just need to do the calculations for themselves. But what they need to think about is sort of long-term daily consumption and how that may influence their risk of cancer and other chronic diseases.
Some have welcomed the move, while others are skeptical of any benefits it may bring.
It's good to tell the consumer of risks. Let them make the decision.
Well, I think even though it might not help, it might make people stop and, take a second thought about it. So in that respect, it may help a little bit.
I disagree with the extra input and the expense of trying to label things like that. We're adults. You have to be 21 to drink. You should be able to know.
I think a lot of things can cause cancer, and it doesn't stop people from partaking and enjoying these things. I think that alcohol can also lead to a lot of other things other than just cancer, probably. So putting a label on every alcoholic bottle seems a little far-fetched for me.
Alcohol consumption is the third leading preventable cause of cancer in the United States. Alcoholic beverages in the United States currently carry a health warning label unchanged since 1988, advising pregnant women against consumption, as well as warning those who may be driving or operating machinery. The decision to update labels will ultimately be made by Congress. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Sydney Test. India side off positively after taking a 4-run lead in the Sydney Test. Yashasvi Jaiswal and KL Rahul both were going strong and fluent before Scott Boland of Australia got them out in quick succession. Jaiswal scored 22 while the other opener KL Rahul scored out on 13. Shubman Gill has now been joined by Virat Kohli as to down India need a solid partnership from these two batters. After a sudden departure of stand-in skipper and star pacer Jasprit Bumrah due to injury, India did not lose hope and bundled out Australia for 181 on day 2 of the ongoing 5th test. With 185 runs in their first innings, India have taken a lead of 4 runs and the onus is now on the Indian batters to capitalise on this lead. For Australia, debutant Boy Webster turned out to be the star as he scored 57. Apart from him, Steve Smith also scored 33. India captain Rohit Sharma has broken his silence on missing the Sydney Test, claiming that he stood down from the team because he is not in a good form. The India captain decided to miss the match amid a run of poor form, leading to speculation that this was the end of his Test career. His 31 runs in 5 innings in Australia resulted in India captain's decision to stand down. Rohit also cleared the air over his retirement after he opted to rest. Sunil Gavaskar, former cricketer, said that this may be the last of Rohit Sharma in Test. Even former coach Ravi Shastri opined on similar lines. However, Rohit Sharma has himself confirmed that he is not going anywhere. Rohit said, and I quote him, "I stood down. The chat that I had with the coach and selector was very simple, that I was not able to score runs with the bat. I'm not in form. This is an important match. We needed a win. This decision is not retirement decision. I'm not going to move away from the game, but for this game, I'm out because I'm not scoring with the bat." All right, let's go across to DD India's Naran Singh is joining us live from Delhi. Naran, first talking about the match situation. India making a strong comeback in Sydney, started off positively in the second innings also after taking a 4-run lead.
Positive note for India, the way things started, and Yashasvi Jaiswal played some flamboyant shot across the ground. But after the departure of KL Rahul and the way Yashasvi Jaiswal was bowled out. Things were not looking good for India. Now the responsibility comes on the shoulder of the Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill, and after the down the order, Rishabh Pant and Ravindra Jadeja. So here it's a golden opportunity for them to take a handsome lead here in the second innings, because as we know that now Bumrah is not there. He has been there for the scans because of some reports that are coming out. It has been seen that he is going for the scan after the lunch. So it remains to be seen how the absence of Bumrah will impact this match, because we know that the bowling potency of the Indian team decreases about 50% in the absence of the Bumrah. So here Indian batters has to come to the party, and they need to score big runs here in their second innings, because when Australia will come to play, if Bumrah is not there, definitely it will be a big, we can say that positive thing for the Australian team. So here responsibility should be taken by the Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill and the Indian batters to score big here at the MCG, because it is very important for the India for the different reasons, especially for the World Test Championship, where the top two spots, especially one spot is now at stake, and that is between Australia and India. Here India needs to play wonderful cricket to win this match. Also, if they want to retain the Border Gavaskar trophy, which has been with India since the last decade. So multiple reasons are there for the Indian batters to here rise on the occasion and play a fantastic innings for the Indian team.
You spoke about Jasprit Bumrah, Naran. It will be interesting to see whether he comes out to bowl in the second innings, which will be very crucial. Nature of injury is still unknown. He has gone out for the scans.
Abhishek, as reports are coming, as we know that in the past also in 2022, Bumrah was not in the Indian squad for his back pain. There was a fractured bone there, and again, as reports are coming in, it has been learned that there is some back problem, and because of that, he went out for the scan. So it remains to be seen the quantum of the injury, how grave is the injury. If everything goes well, if Bumrah again comes for the bowling, it may be small spasm. It remains to be seen. So we are hoping that all goes well with Bumrah, because we know that his presence for the Indian team, he was a lone warrior throughout the series, and it was like the Bumrah versus the Australian team, the way he ripped their batting order throughout the tournament, and multiple times help India to make bounce back in the series, in the match also. And we talk about the workload. It was, we can say that point was there to break down for him. If you take a look at his workload in the MCG, he bowled close to 55 overs in the previous match. In Brisbane too, a similar amount of workload on him, and in 9 innings so far he bowled around 152 overs. So we can say that how much pressure was on him, how much workload was in him. So definitely in the process also he created multiple milestones. He also became the we can say the most in the Australian tour most successful Indian bowler, taking 32 wickets, crossing the record of Bishan Singh Bedi. So it remains to be seen. The presence of Bumrah is very important for the Indian team in context to the Border Gavaskar Trophy, in context to the WTC.
And taking the load of the Indian captaincy also. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Naran, for your inputs. Now, Novak Djokovic's hunt for a landmark 100th ATP title ended with a whimper following an unexpected defeat by big serving American Reilly Opelka in the Brisbane International quarterfinals on Friday. Djokovic's Australian Open preparations encountered a setback on Friday after he was eliminated from the Brisbane International by Opelka. Opelka delivered a commanding performance which resulted in a 7-6, 6-3 victory. Djokovic had entered the tournament asserting his ability to challenge younger players. However, the 27-year-old Opelka, who has been a former world number 17, dominated the match. He secured a comfortable win in 1 hour and 40 minutes. Now, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka will take on Mira Andreeva in the Brisbane International semi-finals on Saturday after both players won their quarterfinal matches in straight sets. Sabalenka defeated the unseeded Czech player Mari Buskova 6-3, 6-4. Earlier, Andreeva had to save 2 set points in the second set before closing out a 6-4, 7-6 victory against Ons Jabeur. Sabalenka has eased into the 2025 season with a string of solid performances before her Australian Open title defence next week. She has now won 26 of her past 27 matches in Australia. a run that includes 2 consecutive Australian Open titles, a WTA 500 title in Adelaide and a final last year in Brisbane. And Colombia has just unveiled a massive Christ monument created using 3D printing technology, standing at an impressive 11 meters tall, inspired by Rio de Janeiro's famous Christ the Redeemer statue. This statue is not only a marvel of technology, but also a celebration of Colombian identity. What's remarkable about this project is the innovative use of 3D printing technology, and the statue's eco-friendly design uses biodegradable materials, making it a sustainable addition to the city's skyline. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.